Hello traders everywhere, Adam Hewison here, president of INO.com and co-creator of MarketClub with your video market update for Friday the 8th of March. Well, we keep asking ourselves, is Carl Icahn using our trade triangle technology? And the reason we say that, it seems like everything we do, Mr. Icahn is like right behind us or whatever. Let me give you a good example. We spoke about TransOcean a couple of days ago, the symbol RIG. And the next day, Mr. Icahn fires off a letter to the TransOcean board about its poor capital allocation. Same thing happened with Netflix. We talked about that in December, bullish signal. In January, Mr. Icahn's buying Netflix. And same with Yahoo. So we don't know if he's using our service. If he is, I hope he's making lots of money, but he's obviously trades with the trend, and that's the important thing to remember, trade with the trend. We'll be looking at the markets and the trends today in the indices and some special markets, so let's get started right away. So we'll start off with the S&P. You can see all the green triangles on the S&P, the Dow, and the Nasdaq. So very, very strong markets. The unemployment came in today at 7.7%. Well, that's great. It's nothing to cheer about. And the jobs created by 236,000, which is one of the best we've seen in a while. But nonetheless, it's still a situation where I don't think we're ever going to see jobs in America go below 7%. I said it. Okay? I think with the robotic and technology companies that were the technology country that we're turning into, there's very little room for actually manual labor on the workshop floor. So with that said, I think things are going to stay pretty sticky here for a while. So let's go to the charts. The charts never lie. They always tell you the truth. We're in a very strong uptrend. We'll put our trade triangles in. You can see they clicked right in here back on January 10th at 1470. We're 1446. The high today was 1551. Remember, we were talking 1550 as a target zone, as one of our first target zones. So it's not unusual to take some money off the table there. But let's just put a couple of studies in here so we'll get an idea of where we stand here. Generally speaking, we're obviously way up towards the top end of the Untitled trade channel. That can stay for a while, but we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. Very hard to get 6 days in a row. The news came out today. Obviously, it was positive for the unemployed, the job numbers, but that's out in the market now. We may have seen the best of this so far. So let's see how it will. Unless there's a collapse, we're going to close higher for the week, which is a good thing. But nonetheless, we did hit our target zone 1550, so caution is in the air. So let's go to our next market, and that's going to be the Dow. Dow is really being kind of like the leader here, and again, it's higher on the day. This is going to be the 6th day in a row it's been higher. Can it maintain this? It's possible, but we've come off the best levels of the day. We trade as high as 14,413. Our target zone on the Dow is 14.6, so we still have a couple more 100 points on the upside, still unfulfilled. But we are extended. This is a 6-day rally. I would not be surprised to see some sort of pullback, maybe early next week, but the trend is your friend, and the trend clearly, based on our trade triangle technology, is positive. Moving on to Nasdaq. Nasdaq is really, you can see it's performed in a rather negative manner. It was higher, then it came right back down. I would suspect that we've seen the high for the day here, and that we're going to see this market sort of just stay around these levels, maybe even erode some more. This market's going to be very, very dependent on what happens to Apple, of course, and we'll look at that later on next week. But crude oil is beginning to look like, this is what we talked about with markets sort of not going down. What happens when a market doesn't go down? Well, it tends to go up. So we're seeing this sort of like little bit of a base building thing. Obviously, over 91, we have one of our trade triangles here. The daily is positive. The weekly, which we use as the trend, so this is where we would do the trend for the weekly. The daily is for timing. So when you see these in conflict, a red and a green, it means you should be basically, let me get that, I don't know why it does that, that you should be basically neutral on the market. And I think that's the best way to be. So when you have the conflict, as I say right here, you should be neutral. So generally speaking, we think the market's trying to make a turn. We're still longer term bullish with our trade triangle here, but we want to see some signs of a turn. You can see it's right below the the parabolic, and maybe we'll kick that in and get to the midpoint, which is around 95, where it should 94. It should be finding resistance there. So let's go to our next market and see what we're looking at there. And we also have two stocks to look at today that gave buy signals, and they were pretty important. This is the gold market. Now, gold, very similar to the crude oil market, has been moving sideways for the past, well, you can see this past 7 or 8 days. Actually, since really the 20th of February, we sort of moved sideways. We sort of tested the low today, and we came right back up. I thought for a moment we were going to have an outside day and really get something going, but it's still too early there. But generally speaking, we talked about this market, and this is going to be the key thing here. We talked about this, the potential of a pivot point right here. We went down to the levels right pretty much down there, today's low, and we sort of stopped, came back up. So this is the area that we want to really watch. If we start moving back up, and I think there's a good chance we will. We're above the parabolic line. You see the little parabolic line here, and we're getting an oversold condition. So the market's ripe for a rally, in my opinion. However, all of the trade triangles right here are negative, and there's just no reason to get in front of this market at the moment. Let the market make a turn. In a recent poll that we did, if you're not voting in our polls, we'd love to have you vote. It showed that most of our users really wanted to look at this market when it makes a turn, and we're going to rely on our trade triangles to show us when that turn is made. So let's just clear the screen and go to our next market. And the next market is the euro against the dollar. Now, the dollar has been very strong here lately. You can see basically the pullback, and today it's obviously very strong below the 130 level. And this is big on a Friday, and I'll show you why. If you go to our weekly charts, you'll see this is going to be a new low close for the Friday. You can see this market really has closed almost lower every week. So the dollar is getting strong and the euro is getting weak. And this really underscores the thesis we have in terms of what Italy is going to happen to Italy. This is still a conundrum that's just unfolding, the political conundrum in Italy, which could have major impact, not just on Italy and Europe, but also here in the States. So let's watch this very carefully. This is not a good close for, we can scope this out somewhere. This is not going to be a good close for the euro. But nonetheless, the longer term is positive for the euro. Intermediate and short term should be short this market, and we would not be surprised to see it go down still further, maybe even touching the lower levels of this area right here, which is around the 128 level. So we'll see how that plays out. Next market we're looking at is a stock, Crocs. They make the shoes, those funky shoes. You've seen them everywhere. And we had a signal in Crocs to be a buyer today. So let's go to a daily chart. And let's look at, let's just take the Fibonacci off here. Let's just look at today's action. Well, there's the monthly kicked in. You can see quite clearly at 1590. It's currently trading at 1575. Can actually get it a little bit lower. It looks like it wants to go higher. It's certainly momentum-wise, it's turned up. Is a little bit overbought, but nonetheless, you are trading with the trend, and the trend in Crocs right now is on the upside. If we scope this out to a max, you'll see how much this market has come down from a record 70, around the mid-70s, to where we saw it at the bottom here of 5. So it was a fast fall. We've recovered back. This is the first signal we've had, buy signal, for quite some time in this market, and I think that's the important thing. The last one we had was on September 5th. And this is March 8th. Of course, that's about 6 months ago. So nonetheless, these signals are important. When they occur, you want to pay attention to them. So we'll see how that plays out. Next market we're looking at today is the Spirit Aerosystems Holdings, SPR as the symbol. And you can see we had a monthly here, March 8th at 17.99. It's 18.10 last. And this is where we were short at 22.04. So you've seen the turn. That's a nice $5 profit. Seen the turn. If we scope this in even closer, you'll get a better idea of what we're talking about. So there it is. Looks like it's making a move up. And these are stocks that we picked out our trade triangles right here using the criteria of monthlies and volume over 2 million shares. So it's very important that you don't get suckered into some of the thinly traded stocks. So that's our picks for today. And you can see how this thing works out. It should be an interesting week next week. A lot of very, very positive news this week for the markets. Let's see what next week brings. I'm Adam Hewison for Market Club. I'll be here on Monday reporting on the markets. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great trading day and a great